Hey, welcome back to the channel, and on today's video we're going to talk a little bit about which of my two regular riders I'm going to keep and try to make some decisions on that, so stay tuned. Yeah, so like I said, I've got two regular riders. One is the BMW S1000XR and the other one is a Triumph Tiger Rally Explorer 1200. I've had one of them for 2 years, that's the BMW, and the other one for almost a year, that's the Triumph Tiger. And originally, when I bought the Tiger, the idea was I would ride it for a year and then decide which of these two bikes I was going to keep. And here we are, we're closing in on a year, and I'm not sure. I really am not sure. Do I keep them both or do I let one go? It does feel a little bit excessive having these two bikes. They're they're nice bikes, and I'm having a hard time deciding. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of run through the pros and cons, and I'm hoping by verbalizing and kind of sharing my thoughts, it'll get me a little closer to a decision on what to do about that. So do a little bit of a rundown on what I like and what I don't like about each of them, and we'll go from there. So the backstory behind how I ended up with two of these bikes is that I traded in an Africa Twin and bought the BMW. And I went with the BMW as opposed to a full-blown adventure bike because I kind of wanted to have a little bit more of that sporty riding style and a little bit more performance than the Africa Twin had. But I really enjoyed the upright riding position of the adventure bike, the Africa Twin, that gave me. So the BMW seemed to be the way to go. It kind of had the looks that I wanted, it had the performance I wanted, it had what appeared to be the sort of the riding position that I wanted out of the bike, so I went for it. And as much as I liked that last year, and I really did enjoy riding it, I still felt that I was missing that adventure bike feel. It was comfortable, it is comfortable, but it's kind of not quite as upright as the adventure bike. I enjoyed being up a little bit higher, and so I kind of started looking around and thinking a little bit again. At the same time, I was having some comfort issues on the Valkyrie that I had, and eventually I found at the Triumph dealership a 2023 brand new old stock at a massive discount. They were discounting the bike probably 6 or 7 grand, which is pretty large, and they were the only dealership that I talked to who was willing to take both my Valkyrie and my CBR 125R Repsol bike as a trade-in. I was working on a couple of deals at the time, another Africa Twin, and this was the one that went together first for the Triumph. So here we are with the 2023 Triumph Tiger 1200. And let's start with the pros. What I like about this bike. So I love the way it looks. It's a great looking bike. It's got a little bit of that kind of industrial trellis frame look to it. I enjoy that a lot. It's loaded. I don't think there's a Tiger that has any kind of more options on it than this one. It came standard with all of the crash bars and the fog lights and whatnot. I love the exhaust system on it. It sounds fine from that perspective. It looks good. I like the position of that. Swing arm looks great. I've found the tires to be fine. I'll be honest, I do not run this thing off-road. I'm not that guy. I have the bike for the styling and the comfort and whatnot. I just like that kind of bike. And the tires have been fine. Will I put those on it when they wear out if I keep it? Don't know, but they've been fine. The engine is a triple, as you probably know. So being somewhere between a parallel twin and an inline four, this triple feels and sounds much more like a twin to me than it does an inline four. This certainly feels much more like a twin, and it's a far cry away from how the engine in the BMW sounds and feels. So that's kind of super bike inline four type of feel and sound. This is most definitely not. Although it's a triple, it very much feels like a twin. And that's okay. It's just kind of, do you prefer one or the other? The riding position in this bike, I love it. It's super comfortable. So you can stand up very comfortably and ride the bike, so that's great. Decent wind protection, I'm happy with that. I absolutely love the blind spot indicators on this. So it's got somebody in your blind spot as you're driving down the road. These lights will light up. Love it. I've never had that on a bike before. I absolutely love that. The cruise control and all that kind of stuff is good. The heated grips are good. Both seats are heated. It's good. This is the most comfortable motorcycle seat I've ever had on a bike. I'm used to the days, and even not that long ago, my Africa Twin, after an hour, I had to get off. The factory seats on most Hondas I find are terrible. I could ride 2 to 3 hours on this before I have to get off. So this is the most comfortable seat I've ever had the joy of riding on in my riding career. Is that a word? Career in this context? Any riding experience. Love the fact that it's a shaft drive and I don't have to deal with chain adjustments and whatnot. Just changing the final drive oil on the regular intervals is fine. So that's all the kind of the good stuff about it. The not so good stuff about this, the TFT and the electronics is horrible. The basic screen itself is okay. That shows you the RPM and the gear you're in and your speed. That's fine. It's just a kind of a digital setup in the middle. I haven't got the key with me, but you probably have seen it before online. But anyway, that part of it is fine. The problem is there's all this other real estate at the sides. So that occupies about that much of the screen in here. And then this is all empty. You've got a temperature that side, and you've got the clock there, but then there's nothing else going on. It's all this wasted space, and you have no idea what your odometer reading is unless you're navigating with these buttons that I don't find particularly intuitive. You got to navigate through to the maintenance menu to see when your maintenance interval is, even to see your odometer reading. So that part of it, I just don't find which switches you're pushing to get into which mode, and there's a home button here and there's a button down here, and I don't know. I just don't find the electronics and the menus simple and intuitive to navigate. It could be because I'm not that smart. I don't know. I just don't find it. The BMW, on the other hand, just as complex, but easy to navigate. Everything just makes sense. It's super intuitive. It's got just as much, bells and whistles and gizmos and gadgets on it, but it's just simpler. It just makes sense. You think, well, if I want this, I must have to go here, and you click it, and yes, that's exactly where it is. Here, I can't find it. Even when I've been there before, I can't find it. I have to pull off to the side of the road and fart around with the buttons to find out, what this is or what that is, because I can't find it. You certainly, in my experience, if you're not, I don't know, maybe if this is my only bike, I would learn it better. And swapping back and forth is the problem, and I just haven't gotten it yet. So maybe in time it will not be a problem anymore, but I would just say generally, and I think it's a common complaint on the Triumph, the display is crap. The way they organize it is awful. They could put so much more on the screen, and you can't even customize it to put certain things on. Like, why can't I have my odometer reading on the screen? Terrible. Don't like it. Bad job. Very bad. And then what else is really, really crap on it is the center stand. So I weigh, I don't know, what do I weigh? 165, 170, I don't know, depends on the week, somewhere in there. Anyway, I'm not a huge guy, and whoever designed the geometry and the leverage to get this bike on that center stand, that person should be dragged out in the street and publicly flogged. I mean, I've seen people put them up before onto the rear center stand, and I put 100 bikes up on center stand, and it should never ever be that difficult. It just shouldn't be. If I've actually resorted to rolling the rear wheel onto, you only need half an inch, a half-an-inch plank of wood. I just roll the bike onto it, and then it just pops up effortlessly. So somebody did not do a good job on that. So shame on Triumph for that, because it's just abysmal. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And what is otherwise, you know, a really good bike. Why would you bugger something like that up? And when all you needed to do is probably move the pivot point slightly one way or the other. I don't understand it. The other issues I have with this bike, those tires tend to lose about a pound or pound and a half, you know, 1.5 psi per month in pressure. BMW's never lost any air pressure. Why is that? I don't know. It just is the way it is. So that's, you know, that's a small niggle. I mean, you're supposed to check your tire pressures fairly regularly anyway. The other thing I will say, and it kind of boils down to back to the electronics again, I find as a pet peeve, which I despise it on this bike, is the start sequence. So it just doesn't work well. So when you turn the bike on using this here, I mean, again, I don't have the key fob with me, but it's clunky. So you can turn the bike on using that, and then you get to click down here to actually start it. You got to get all these clicking and clacking this way, that way. Now you can go straight to here and push it down and hold it, but it doesn't fire immediately. You've got this delay while it starts to boot up over here, and then it will go. I just find it, I mean, let me know in the comments if you've got one of these and you've figured it out and I'm doing something wrong, but I just find it to be atrociously poor in design. Like, why would you have the turn it on button here, and then you got to rocker it all the way the other way? And it just seems to, anyway, it annoys me. That annoys me. That annoys me. And that annoys me. Everything else is fine. It's good. I enjoy it. The tank capacity is great. The fuel economy is not so bad. It's pretty decent. So there you go. 3 big annoyances on the Triumph. The rest is good. On the BMW, it's great. The seat is comfortable, although, you know, this, I've said this before in a prior review. It's kind of a dish shaped. It locks you in. If you're somebody that likes to move around in a seat side to side or whatever, then you'll hate it. If you're somebody that stays fairly stationary like I do, and you don't mind being locked into position, it's quite comfortable. Not as comfortable as that on the Triumph, but it's comfortable enough. I can ride for an hour and a half, no problem. I can push it beyond that if I have to, without getting out of the seat. So it's been quite comfortable. Electronics are great. The switch gear and the little mouse wheel type of thing here, and everything is very intuitive. I have a minor complaint about what shows up at the top, but you can customize that. I just haven't done it yet. And you can scroll through. It would be better, I think, if you could have your odometer reading permanently displayed and a couple of the other things, but you have to actually scroll through them at the top. So it's better than the Triumph, but I think it could be a little bit better. That aside, you know, it's got the right combination of sport and touring and comfort. Obviously, the engine is a derivative of kind of the S1000RR engine. It's detuned to some degree, 165 horsepower, but there is no mistaking that the bones of this bike is a sport bike. The performance is ridiculous. I'm not a fast rider. I like to keep the front wheel on the ground, but this thing is an absolute weapon if you want it to be. And if you want to ride, you know, sedately and quietly and just tour on it, it'll do that as well. So it does everything very well. Wind protection is good. It looks fantastic. The one downside I find to it, which is kind of one of the things that kind of led me to an adventure bike again, is if I want to stand up and stretch my legs, you still have a forward lean because the pegs are a little further back and the bars are a little further forward. Sitting position is super comfy, but if you want to stand at all, it's not as good. You can do it, but it's just not as good. And on the gravel roads, which I do go on occasionally because I live on several kilometers of gravel road, obviously a sport bike with these kinds of tires and so on is not going to be as comfortable to ride on or as easy to ride on as that. It's not bad, but you certainly wouldn't go off-roading with this. And I don't go off-road anyway, really, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, it's hard. Now, I guess the other thing I should compare is the quick shifters, because they both got quick shifters on them. And I find the BMW quick shifter is smoother, slicker, faster, more seamless, whatever you want to call it, on the upshifts. But it's not as good as the Triumph on the downshifts. They both work well, but I would give the BMW 10 out of 10 on the upshifts, and I don't know, it's like a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 on the downshifting. Whereas this one, I would give it, a 8.5 to 9 out of 10 on the upshifting, and basically the same on the downshifting. So the gearbox and from a quick shifter perspective, I say is generally overall feels better on the Triumph, but the BMW is better on the upshift. I just kind of what my experience has been. I have had one issue with the BMW, and I don't think it was a mechanical issue. I've never been able to repeat it, but I basically got locked into second gear. I was kind of cruising along in a slow area in third gear, and I downshifted into second because I was coming to an even slower corner, and then I went to get out of second gear and it wouldn't go out. Even I wasn't quick shifting, I was using the clutch. It wouldn't go into first gear, it wouldn't go into third gear. It was just it just seemed to get electronically confused about where it was. So I ended up eventually I got it to go into gear again. I don't even know exactly what happened anymore. It was so long ago, but it's never done it again, touch wood. But it was just kind of a strange thing. Actually, maybe it was shift up, but that's what it was. It was shift up, but it wouldn't shift down past second gear. I couldn't go down into first. So yeah, I ended up going back up to third, fourth, fifth, and then when I went back down again, then it was fine. So yeah, that was just kind of a strange thing. Aside from that, this has been back to the dealer a couple of times for its oil changes and service and whatnot. It's going to be out of warranty in another month. This has been to the dealer for its first service, where they were unable to find why my TFT wasn't displaying temperature. They told me it was some computer glitch, and they were calling head office, and turned out to just be the fact that I had a sensor disconnected under the beak there. So they didn't do a great job in figuring that out. I had to bring it home and figure it out myself. So, I mean, one of the options, I guess, is just ride them both for another year. At this point, they're not going to go down that much more in value. I mean, as soon as you take these things off the dealership floor, you've flushed 30% of the value down the toilet anyway. So it probably wouldn't be too big of a deal. There's not going to be that high a mileage on both of them if I decide to hang on to them both for, another year. And I don't know, what do you think of the looks of them? They're both good looking machines. I like the colors on both. I mean, I like the black, gray, silver sort of combos on the two bikes. That works really well. I worry that I would just miss the comfort again of the adventure bike. I love the feel of the adventure bike. I think Triumph have done a generally pretty damn good job putting this thing together. I'm not too worried about reliability. I know there are some quirky things with doing oil changes on these where you have to put the oil in before you do the filter. or you have some issues with the engine oil pressure and whatnot, so having it bled properly. But I'm sure I can figure all that out when the time comes for me to do my own oil changes on it. And yeah, the BMWs, I mean, that's going to be me doing oil changes on this one from now on, because it's now going to be out of warranty this year, so I'll just do my own oil changes on it. I'm not too concerned about that. Yeah, it's just, I don't know where to go with my decision making next. I do have to share the new plaque here that I have for the workshop. I make comments quite frequently about some of my OCD tendencies. So my buddy Mark, who is the proud owner of this bike that I'm doing some work for, thought that this would be a suitable plaque for my workshop, and he's not wrong. This will go very well in the shop. Okay, to be fair, I have to give a bit of a negative point on the BMW, because I mentioned it, I think, in my first review video of this bike at 1,000 kilometers. The inline 4 from BMW is not a quiet engine at idle. It's very gravelly sounding, is the best way to describe it. I only really notice it when I first start the bike up, and at low RPM. It's kind of just the way they are. I'm not the only one to notice it. It's not something peculiar to my bike. It's not a problem. It's just the way they sound. And if you're used to an inline 4 from a Japanese bike, these are very mechanical sounding. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. It's a very mechanical sound. You don't hear any of that when you're at speed, when you're on the highway, when you're revving it, none of that. It's just really when you first start it up and it's idling away, it's just very mechanical sounding. And that's something that I've kind of griped about a little bit before. And if I could change something on the bike, that would be one of the things that I would definitely change. The other thing I guess I should mention, I know these are undocumented features of the bike, but things that I've discovered about the Triumph. And maybe if I read the manual, it would just tell me about these things, but I just kind of figured them out for myself. When you release the clutch, you're in first gear, and you just say you're about to set off from a dead stop. As you release the clutch, it will automatically increase the RPM ever so slightly, as if even if you don't give it any gas. It'll increase the RPMs just a little bit, and it's kind of helps for stall prevention. I mean, not that we all go around stalling our motorcycles, but this bike would be fairly difficult to stall for that reason. And it doesn't give you bags of revs, it just gives you enough to get the bike moving and get some momentum, which I thought was kind of interesting. The other thing, which I took me a while to figure out, was the turn signals have kind of two built-in modes. So I noticed that sometimes I guess I have either a longer or a shorter push that I do on the switch here, depending on which direction I'm turning. It's just kind of force of habit. I would find out that in one particular direction, the turn signal would flash 3 times and then go off, and that would just be annoying, because then the people behind you don't know you're turning if they haven't taken notice. The first time you hit the switch, or I thought the self-canceling was activating too soon, whereas I go in the other direction and the flasher would stay on for much longer. But it turns out it's kind of a touch-sensitive switch. So if you do a very quick touch to it, it'll just do a 3 flash, as if you're just doing a lane change. If you do a slightly longer push and hold and let go like that, then it will keep the turn signal on longer and kind of wait for you to do some sort of a turn, and then I guess it would sense the ratio of the front and rear wheels and then do the self-cancel or whatever algorithm it uses to do that. So yeah, it does like a short touch is a 3 flash, a slightly longer touch will keep the turn signals on longer. So the other thing that a lot of Triumph owners probably know by now is there was a revised software update. And if you hold this home button down for a couple of seconds, on the bottom corner of the screen, the shock absorber logo comes up and it flashes, and it will actually lower the bike. I don't know how many millimeters it lowers it down, 12, 20 millimeters, something like that. I don't know, centimeter or 2. just enough for getting a slightly better flat-footed plant on the ground. So if you're in town or coming to stoplights, you just hold that for a second. It'll lower the bike, and then you've got an easier time putting your feet down. And it will stay in the lowered mode until you hit, I think it's about 50 or 55 kilometers an hour, and then it will raise back up again. And as it's activating, raising or lowering, the icon on the screen flashes to let you know that that's happening. So those are kind of a couple of cool features of the bike. Yeah, so I just thought I'd kind of throw that in there because I don't think I discovered those things the last time I did a review on the Triumph. So I don't know if I'm any closer to making a decision at this point. I think, what do I value most? Maybe that's one of the questions I should really be asking myself. You know, there's going to be pluses and minuses in any motorcycle. I don't know if there is a perfect bike, but I don't know. I don't know which way to go with this. Part of me says what's most important to me is comfort, but I kind of want the option for some performance. And so yeah, I kind of get caught, and this is why I'm struggling with choosing between these two bikes. So there you go. There's my rambling video for the day. Give me your thoughts below. Tell me what you think. Are you Team Tiger or are you Team BMW? Let me know. And again, I'll apologize for not having a whole ton of new restoration content in this video. I'm still working on the CB1100R, but again, it's been a busy summer doing other things, so I haven't got enough content to throw a decent video out for you at this point, but I will get something done there soon. There's a few other small jobs, tank repairs, paint and stuff that's coming up. And I still haven't bought another project bike for the winter. And I will say my options and choices for another project bike have kind of gotten really, really, really narrow. So you may recall that I've said before, now I'm down to 15 bikes. I don't really want to go beyond that number of bikes, not too far anyway. So if anything comes in now, something else has got to go out. And I have to get picky because I made the mistake a few years ago. I just went crazy buying. I see this, oh, that's a good deal. I'll buy that and I'll buy that and I'll restore that. And though they were all bikes I liked, they really were not the bikes that I would say, okay, I want to keep that in my collection forever. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I want to keep bikes that I'd be happy to have in my collection for as long as I want to be collecting bikes for. So the numbers of bikes are smaller in that choice category. And the other thing that it means is it's harder to find in the right price range. So if I want to restore one, finding those bikes, which are typically, obviously now, they're not the cheapest. So if I have, for instance, a GSXR 1100, I'd love one, 1986, in the Union Jack, red, white, and dark blue sort of color scheme. That is one of the bikes that I would love to find. But you got to find it at the right price if you can restore it. They're not that common to begin with, and they're sure not very common in the cheap price range. So that's kind of narrowing my choices, and that's making it hard to find the right project. But that aside, the other thing that could happen, depending on how much is going on in the shop, is I might have to shift videos to once every couple of weeks, depending on how the content's coming along. So I hope you bear with me if that happens. I just don't want to just throw out videos for the sake of throwing them out there. So that could be a potential outcome depending on what I find. I've got a good friend of mine who's got a bunch of projects that he might get me to help out with. So that would likely provide some decent footage for you as well. So stay tuned. If I'm going to go to every 2 weeks, I'll let you know. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in an upcoming video.